Hello, everyone. Welcome to CxEnergy virtual webinar series. We're just going to wait a few minutes before we get started at the top of the hour. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Before we get started, we're going to go into a quick video from our sponsor.
More than 32 years, Building Fit is on a mission to make buildings more efficient, profitable, and comfortable. And they're passionate about reducing energy use through the creative application of modern data analysis. Designed to leverage data from building information systems, Building Fit delivers key insights to identify opportunities to improve energy efficiency using advanced data analytics and visualization for dashboarding and reporting. To deliver energy-efficient buildings and lower utility costs, Building Fit's actionable smart data software is essential. By deploying Building Fit software, building owners and facility managers are able to monitor building performance in one unified software dashboard to predict system errors and anomalies with fault detection alerts, and to track and receive insight reports, including historical building performance data. Achieving and maintaining high-performance energy efficiency is difficult in complex building systems. It's common for buildings to waste tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars annually on energy waste when building systems like HVAC do not operate as intended. Building Fit's Smart Building Analytics has helped solve these common industry problems.
And hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or evening, depending where you are in the world today. And welcome to the CxEnergy virtual webinar series. I'm Sam Schwartz with ACG. Thanks for being here. And special thanks to Building Fit for sponsoring this presentation today. Some of you have already attended probably many of our webinars already, but I just want to address a few important notes before we get started. In order to receive our certificate of completion, you must be a registered attendee, 1, and then 2, use the personalized link that was sent to your specific email address, not a link that might have been shared with you. And once each live presentation concludes, you will receive an email with your certificate within 24 hours. Additionally, if you are a certified CXA, EMP, or a TBE, staff will be uploading your certificates of attendance for you to your respective member portals, and this will be completed after the final CxEnergy virtual presentation, and that happens at the end of April. All live webinars are being recorded, so if you do happen to miss one of them, they will be available for viewing later. During the session, we do encourage you to submit questions at any time, so please don't hold back. And the chat function is where you can make general comments and chat with attendees. If you happen to be experiencing any technical issues or have any questions, please use that same chat function to inform the panelists, and we will assist you. Today's webinar is Operating with Persistence, Monitoring Base Commissioning and HVAC Analytics. And a few words on our speaker today. Brent has been in the energy field since graduating from the University of Cincinnati in 2007. He came to ETC Group in 2018 and is currently part of the Monitoring-Based Commissioning Group. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to him to get us started today. Brent?
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks everybody for joining us here. So my name is Brent Grimm. I'm an engineer here at ETC Group, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about operating with persistence, monitoring-based commissioning, and HVAC analytics. All right, so there's a lot of words on this slide. You don't have to read them all, but essentially what we're going to be doing today is we're going to cover how to use a monitoring-based commissioning program alongside with HVAC analytics in order to create and maintain a high-performance building. So some of the things we're going to be looking at here today, the learning objectives. So at the end of this, we'll be looking to make sure that you know how to structure an organization in a way that benefits from HVAC analytics software and monitoring-based commissioning services. We want you to know how to use analytics software and monitoring-based commissioning services to support environmental health and safety efforts, to be able to focus manpower efforts to improve occupant comfort and to reduce operating costs and improve equipment reliability. We'll be looking to show you how to identify operational needs, such as resources and funding to respond to findings of the monitoring-based commissioning program. And then finally, we want to discuss best practices in leveraging these MBCx services with modern data analytics software to address compliance and occupant comfort. All right, so before I jump right into this, I wanted to bring up this topic. You know, my wife and I have always been into fitness. We run marathons, we run triathlons and mud races, basically everything outside of these ultra marathons. We thought we had seen pretty much everything. During our COVID quest to complete Netflix, we ran across this documentary. It's called The Barkley Marathons, the race that eats its young. And so this was interesting because it's an ultra marathon designed by a guy named Gary Cantrell. He's quite the character. It was inspired by the prison escape of a guy named James Earl Ray. When he escaped the prison, it's in Tennessee, in the middle of these mountains and just horrible terrain. He covered only 8 miles in the 55 hours that he was out before he was recaptured. Cantrell saw this on the news and was unimpressed, believing he could do at least 100 miles in that time frame. And so he developed the Barkley Marathon. Now this race, it consists of an approximate 20-mile loop, although any of the runners that have done it will tell you it's closer to 26 and has an elevation gain of about 12,000 feet. That loop must be completed 5 times over the course of 60 hours. When it's all said and finished, a runner will have completed about 130 miles with an elevation gain equivalent to going up and down Mount Everest twice. There are no aid stations in this race. There's 2 water points along the loop, and usually they run out of water. So now, due to the grueling nature of this course, having a very well-equipped and knowledgeable support team is an absolute must for anybody hoping to complete this race, let alone win it. Thus far, 55% of the races have ended with no finishers. So it's the real deal. Your support staff will know their runners super well, so they'll know how much food and nutrients they need as they go through the course. They know how many calories they're burning and what they need to sustain. And most importantly, they're there to help the runner keep pace. All of the training and prep work in the world won't mean a thing if you don't have a team out there to support you. And in the documentary, if you guys want to check it out, you'll see there's a couple people that show up and just go for it. You know, they try to run it with no support group, and it's not pretty. It doesn't end well for them. So operating a building is much like running, you know, a long race like this. You need to have proper support and have a solid plan in place, and you have to be ready for changes and be flexible with that plan as your needs and the situations evolve around you. In addition, operating a building can sometimes feel like you're just running in great big circles. So we're here to show you how to make sure that those circles are productive. Okay, so when we talk about this concept of operating with persistence, what we're really talking about is a robust monitoring-based commissioning program that utilizes advanced analytics to allow a relatively small team to monitor the performance of a large number of buildings. So why is this even necessary? Our answer is because we have these great commissioning programs that do a really good job of testing sequences, testing equipment performance. Unfortunately, as soon as they step away from that process, performance can begin to degrade for a number of reasons. This is why it's necessary to go straight from a commissioning project into a long-term monitoring-based commissioning program. What we don't want to see is all the hard work from the commissioning just disappear as soon as they step away. So in this graph that you see here, it's just kind of the general typical setup that we see. We come in, recommissioning starts, we watch energy use decrease throughout the life of that recommissioning project. And then in this case, it actually, we keep reducing electric use for about another year until you see around August of 13 on there, we start seeing that drift. This is another example, and the concept of this becomes especially true when we start to talk about recommissioning. There's a lot of hurdles to get past when recommissioning a building, and a lot of those problems are human problems that require training and education. Training and education should always be part of a recommissioning process, as there's going to be a lot of new information in front of the building operators, and we can't expect them to know how we are operating now as opposed to how they have been operating in the past 5, 10, 20 years, however long they've been there. Even with good training, this can still be a challenge and is one of the benefits of a good monitoring-based commissioning program. When the program is in place, we generally have a lot of contact with the building operators, and we just kind of help them understand what we're trying to achieve and how we're trying to achieve it. We find that generally just that education piece and letting them know what we're trying to do and how we're doing it alleviates a lot of that concern. In addition, working with the building operators, they're showing us roadblocks that may not be obvious in the analytics or that we just may not have seen as we're going through the project. So it's a real give and take relationship there. Now, before we dive into analytics and the benefits that they provide, we have to talk about the organizational structure. Recently on a podcast I was listening to, they were interviewing John Petsy, the co-founder of SkySpark. And his statement was that analytics alone will net you zero savings. And that is because of this piece of organizational structure and workflow. Those are going to be what turns analytics into savings. So there's a couple key roles in this structure that I've outlined here. I just want to be real clear that we're not saying that this is the only way to structure, but you do need to have these key minimum number of pieces to have a successful program. So at the top here, you'll see the site champion. So the site champion, this is generally the person overseeing the entire process. They are getting buy-in from upper management, selecting the platform that's going to be used, and usually overseeing the rest of the organizational structure. This is also the key person that is going to go back for more money when we unearth issues that maybe we need new equipment, maybe we need to repair some things or install some new sensors. This will be the person that's going after that money and making sure that those projects are able to be completed. Next up, we got the site level monitor. And this is going to be the person that's actually monitoring the analytics at each site. So we've seen this work successfully in a couple different ways. One of our partners we work with is Banner Health, and we've been working with them for a long time. We have a long, successful relationship with them, and they actually have a dedicated group of engineers that are trained up on analytics software and are responsible for a pretty high number of facilities. This group, their primary task is to take work orders and issues that we've found using the analytics software, turn those into work orders in their native CMMS program, and kind of seeing the work through, making sure it gets completed. Like I said, this group of engineers, they're monitoring a large number of facilities. So we at ETC Group, we do remain involved with them, and we monitor those facilities on a regular basis still. Another newer partner, we just started with a little over a year ago, Prince William School District. It's a K through 12 district in Virginia, and we kind of act as their site level monitor. And we work directly with their facility staff, their internal controls folks, to make sure that changes are made appropriately and the issues that we have uncovered are addressed. And we just work really closely with that group of people to oversee their facilities. And then the last two bullet points here, and probably the most crucial, are the facility staff and the controls guys. So developing a good relationship with these folks and getting buy-in from them can be the difference in a satisfying, fun project or a project that makes you want to pull your hair out. They have information that we can't see in analytics. Their input is absolutely invaluable. So making sure that we have a good relationship and get buy-in from that group is really key. And starting a monitoring-based commissioning program or buying analytics software without this structure in place to reap the benefits is really much like starting that marathon we talked about with no food, no water, or no support crew. You might make a lap or two, but you're definitely going to be dragging yourself back in injured and disappointed with your results. So another person I want to call out here that didn't necessarily show up in the last slide because they can fit into multiple roles is your super user. Given the nature of analytics software right now, it takes a level of training and experience in order to effectively use the tools available in the analytics software. So like I said, this person can fit into multiple roles, but regardless of what that role is, you'll want a super user on your staff. Now, generally at the start of a new monitoring-based commissioning program, this is usually an external person that's an expert with the analytics software and capable of rapidly conducting a site analysis using the tools provided by that analytics platform. This person could be your site level monitor, or they could be working directly with your internal staff to help train them up while continuing to monitor sites and feed work to the facility level. In order to realize the full potential of the program, this position really is crucial. They will be there to continually monitor the facility, help rank priority of work, train others on the software, and they can work directly with the analytics company to improve the product and help better fit the needs of the facility. So a little bit of a spoiler here for the marathon documentary, but there's two very elite ultra marathon runners taking place in this race at the time of the documentary. They interview these guys separately, and both of them express how badly they want to beat the other one. But interestingly, they end up running the race, about 80% of the race together. They run 4 of the 5 laps and only split up on the final loop because the race forces you to go in different directions around the loop. One has to go clockwise, one has to go counterclockwise. They understood the benefits of working with another elite athlete. They work together to help each other stay on course. The course is not marked in any way. You just have a map and a compass. So they work together to make sure they don't get lost out there. And they work together to keep each other motivated at a very high level. So, much like the race, partnerships are going to play a critical role in your monitoring-based conditioning program. Most companies just lack the internal resources required to meet all the demands that result from a program like this. And for most companies, it doesn't make sense to build out a new controls group or a chiller maintenance group. There's lots of different aspects there that are needed, that it's important to have that relationship. Generally, it's just more economical to have a strong relationship with those vendors. And we have found over the years that having these key partners working with each other results in the work getting completed in a timely manner and being able to realize those savings and opportunities that have been identified in your monitoring-based conditioning program. All right, so that organizational structure is kind of that first piece of the background that needs to be established. And the second major piece is going to be workflow integration. We need to have a way to turn issues identified in the analytics platform and in the program into work being done at the facility. The key to this step is if you already have a workflow management program that works well for your facility, then just figure out a way to work into that. We don't need to try to solve a problem that's already been solved. And most companies already have their own CMMS software in place. So generally, it's just a matter of getting data from one piece of software to another. Depending on the analytics platform that's chosen, this can be done with custom connectors that allow data to flow between the two programs, or it can be accomplished with some manual data entry. Whichever method is decided upon, it is key that these work orders make their way into the site CMMS program in order to realize the savings opportunities that have been identified through your MBCx program. All right, now that we've kind of got some groundwork and some foundation laid with a solid organizational structure and mapped out workflow integration, we can start talking about advanced analytics. So generally, advanced analytics pulls down data from the BAS as well as other external resources, just kind of depending on what platform is being used. Using this data along with pre-programmed rules, which are condition-based algorithms, and some custom data roll-ups, it does a really good job of converting this big swamp of data, as we like to call it, into something that is easily digested by a single person or by a group within an organization. This allows a building owner to understand what is happening in their building and how to make the best decisions going forward in terms of efficiency, comfort, maintenance, and any other factors that may be relevant to that facility. I mentioned briefly in the last slide some rules, and rules are kind of the meat of advanced analytics. They're one of the key aspects of the analytics software that make it so powerful. Like I mentioned earlier, rules are condition-based algorithms that are used to evaluate the performance of a particular piece of equipment. So one easy example of a rule is a leaking chill water valve rule for an air handler. So what this rule will do is look at the mixed air temperature and the supply air temperature of that air handler and compare that DT to the chill water valve position. Now, if the program is seeing the air temperature drop from the mixed air sensor to the supply air sensor, and the chill water valve feedback is showing a 0%, then that's going to go ahead and trigger an alarm, letting the user know that there's an issue and this valve appears to be leaking. So once you deploy a large number of these rules across an entire building, we're really able to start identifying issues quickly and efficiently. Now, there's quite a few rules in these analytics platforms. What you see on this slide is just a few that I've pulled out that I thought would be beneficial to show. So you can see what we got here. We've got some air handler, chill water, and hot water valve leaks. We've got air handler economizer issues, central plant chiller staging errors. We've got point sensor failures, terminal unit hot water valve leaks, zone air temperature set points not met, and VFD high drive temperatures. And so one of the things you'll notice is that these rules are not squarely focused on energy efficiency. In fact, some of the issues that can be uncovered can result in more energy use. In some cases, analytics identify rooms that are not meeting set point. Maybe it's because of a seized hot water valve or a plugged screen. But we definitely still want to identify these issues and get it fixed, even though it's going to mean a slight increase in energy usage. We don't want to be singularly focused on reducing energy consumption, especially if it comes at the cost of tenant comfort or maintenance expenses. It's important when selecting a platform that you consider all of the aspects of building performance that you want to look at. This will help you future-proof your system by not requiring multiple pieces of software to monitor different aspects of building performance. In our case, we want something that can touch on all of these areas. All right, as previously mentioned, one of the great aspects of analytics is the ability to pull information from different sources. At ETC Group, we use SkySpark by Building Fit, and this gives us the ability to pull in utility bills and run analysis on those utility bills. Using the advanced analytics, we were able to load up utility bills, run analytics and baselines to understand how current energy use compares to a previous year's usage. In this example, I'm using a 2017 as a baseline. And so what you'll see on that graph, that dashed line is your baseline trend. And then mapped right on top of that is the current year's, well, in this case, it's 2019. So that way we can easily compare the 2 years of energy use. So when we pull this up, we're able to quickly see where some anomalies occur. We can see going from January to June, our 2019 usage is well below the baseline usage of 2017. But then in July, we have a big spike where we actually end up going above the baseline and we're using more energy than we were previously. One of the other things to note about this, and one of the great parts about the analytics, is we are normalizing for weather in this trend. So we can't just attribute this to maybe just a hot summer. If anybody's familiar with the Arizona climate out here where we are, those hot summers can be brutal. Basically, looking at this, we ended up determining that certain aspects of the chill water plant the chill water plant sequence had been disabled and left in hand. But luckily, because we had this software deployed, we were able to catch this and inform of the site of the deficiencies that were occurring and get it corrected. And as we stated earlier, many analytic platforms are capable of monitoring different aspects of building performance. But in general, what most people are looking for out of their analytics programs are ways to make their buildings more efficient and save money. So one of the areas that analytics excel is identifying low-hanging fruit that has a quick payback and a low-cost repair. Occupancy is a great example of this. Catching rooms that are operating outside of their occupied hours is a great example of how analytics can make life easy for a building operator. Without analytics, it can actually be kind of difficult to determine which zones are not operating according to their schedule anymore. If the BAS does not have trending capabilities, then somebody has to be directly in front of the BAS when a room should be unoccupied and verify that the flow is being reduced to the point it needs to be and that the zone air set points are resetting appropriately. With analytics, all we have to do is load up custom schedules and we can assign those schedules to different rooms and we just let the software do the heavy lifting. All we have to do at that point is log in, go look at these alarms and see what's going on. This type of low-hanging fruit really just allows quick paybacks and allows for a program like this to pay for itself rather quickly. Another example that we have here, looking a little more advanced use of the analytics for efficiency here. For this example, we're actually using key performance indicators, which are roll-ups of certain data over a period of time. So using a condenser water pump power sum KPI at a medical facility, we're able to catch this major efficiency issue where a bug in the programming caused all condenser water pumps, I believe it was 6 of them, to enable and go to 100%. We saw the pump power sum go from approximately 100 kW to around 235 kW. So this could have resulted in an annual penalty of about $95,000, which for perspective would pay for about 3 years of a monitoring-based commissioning program. These are the types of events that, we notice that really just get lost in the background noise of a facility. It's not likely that an operator is just going to pull up condenser water pumps and see how much power they're using, as long as that condenser water temperature is being met. So there's a good chance that this would have gone on for months without a proper monitoring-based commissioning program in place. Now, the only downside of this event, it was a learning experience for us. Because this occurred at the facility, we do a monthly analysis, and this occurred right after a monthly analysis. So everything looked good at the beginning of the month, and then in the middle month, we saw it go to this. And so that resulted in this issue going on for longer than we would have liked. Any amount of time is too long, but more than a week is longer than what we want to see. So what we did after this was we deployed some key views looking at some key performance indicators. And that way we could hop on there once every 2 weeks, and in under an hour, we can go through a site and just quickly look at major points and make sure that we don't have any major issues happening like we see here. So now we do this rapid analysis once every 2 weeks to ensure nothing like this is happening. And, this is just a prime example of why continuously monitored program is necessary. Like I said, this was a pretty high dollar issue that we found, costing around $1,800 per week. So the quicker we can catch an issue like this, the quicker we can reduce the impact. Now, while efficiency is generally how monitoring-based program can pay for itself, it all means nothing if everybody in the building is unhappy. And this is why selecting an analytics platform that can monitor all aspects of a building performance is so important. In this slide, we provide a partner with some information around how well spaces are meeting set point. In addition to this, we provide a table that shows the worst offenders for the facility in order to provide facility staff with some meaningful action. If they want to improve comfort, they can simply start at the top of the boxes that are listed here. Also of note, we've got this distribution bar chart going on up top. So they have a good idea of where their zone air temperatures are lying. You want to see most of those within that 70, 73 degree range, which is where they are sitting. We do have a more interactive version of this. So you could actually click on those bars and it would pull up the list of zones that have fallen into that category. So if you want to go find all rooms that have a 65 degree average zone air temperature, you could pull that up and quickly go through and start knocking those out. Also in the table, you'll see, we've got that key performance indicator, the percent of time that they're comfortable. So the lower that number, the worse. And then we provide some other context next to it so that the operator has a little bit of an idea of what to look for. So when we see a 68 degree average zone air temperature and a heating set point of 73, we know there's probably something going on with a hot water coil there, and we can start looking at that pretty quickly. Now, I mentioned in our structure, our organizational structure piece of this, how important it is to have facility staff on your side for this. And I can't overestimate that or overemphasize that enough. And a great way to win them over is to make their job easier. Improving comfort is one good way. The less cold calls they get, the better. The second way we can do this is help them with maintenance issues. And so this analytics platform, we have the ability to monitor maintenance issues, such as the one you're seeing here. This is a fault detection for a VFD high drive temperature. So we can see here where this started triggering a fault detection alert on Thursday, the 21st. And this allows an operator to really just get out there and get ahead of it. It's a whole lot easier to get in there to change a filter, a fan filter, or clean a filter and get that cooling system working, or even just take the piece of equipment out of service if it's got a redundant piece of equipment that can take its place. We can do that and get in there and find an issue before we have a scene like you're seeing here with a full-on meltdown of a VFD. Analytics are they're an extremely valuable tool to help a facility shift from reactive maintenance to proactive maintenance, which just makes everybody's life a little bit easier. All right, now as I mentioned, talking about the marathon, the participants of that race, they are given a watch, not a fancy watch, like an analog hand watch, a map and a compass in order to keep track of time and to navigate the course. Now remember, this course is not marked at all. So that map and compass are absolutely crucial for completing that race. And as basic as the watch is, it is very necessary in order to keep pace and make sure that they are have time to complete the race. Facility reporting is going to be your map, your compass, and your watch in terms of building performance. We cannot determine a path forward if we don't know where we're at and how a building might benchmark against other buildings similar to yours. So developing a baseline and goals will all be part of a successful MBCx program. And with any good set of goals, you need a good way to track that progress, and that's what reporting can do for you. We also use reporting to highlight high-value notes that need to be addressed so we can assign more resources where it's necessary. And reporting just overall ensures that everybody in the organizational structure and at the facility is on the same page in terms of the goals and where they're at on that trajectory in meeting those goals. So now the last topic we're going to touch on here is enterprise reporting. And this is for partners that may have multiple buildings, or in this case that you see here, quite a few buildings that we're monitoring. So the enterprise reports are generally geared towards that site champion that we mentioned earlier, as well as upper management. And it's a good way of putting information in front of that champion, in front of higher up managers, so that they can see the value that this program is bringing the facility and the company. So what you're seeing here in this slide, you'll see how we break buildings up into their regional groups. Each region is managed by a separate person, so each person can have an idea of how their region is looking. And we pull up realized savings versus savings opportunities. So this lets people know which groups and which sites are doing well and which sites may need a little bit more attention. If we look in the upper right graph there, you can see facility 2, that's kind of an outlier with $81,000 of savings opportunities. And what those savings opportunities are notes or issues that we have identified within the analytics platform. They've been written up and they're waiting for repair. So a manager could look at this and say, well, facility 2, we obviously need to put some more resources over there. And while it is, still achieving a fair bit of savings, there's a lot sitting on the table that we can go after. And then right below that graph is a little different way to kind of look at the facilities, and it's a way to normalize for the size of the facility. This way, your smaller facilities aren't getting ignored. If they're doing really well, we want to recognize that they're doing well. The second part of this enterprise report is a focus on the work orders and the highest potential annual savings, along with a list of work orders that have been completed. It's really important that we highlight these high payback work orders at a management level, again, so we can make sure that they have the proper resources, whether that's more personnel, maybe they need a controls contractor, maybe they need money for sensors or something of that nature. We want to make sure that management has all that information so that they can divert things as needed. In addition, we want to highlight some management progress that has been made by, kind of bringing those top closed out work orders to light. We want management to understand the paybacks and the impact that this program is having on the facility. So we highlight those closed out work orders as well. And on the right is a summary of which sites have the most open work orders and which sites have closed out the most work orders. We can use this information to learn lessons from sites that are closing out lots of work orders and getting lots done, and focus on other sites with a high number of outstanding issues and work orders, and again, make sure that they have the resources needed. So again, reporting is going to be kind of that final critical piece in this process, as building performance may not be in the front of everybody's mind. We can use these reports to keep the facility as a whole focused on achieving high building performance. And by showing the progress that we've made, we can keep momentum moving forward. So now that we've kind of gone through all the pieces required for a quality monitoring-based commissioning program, I'm just going to run through these bullet points real quick to wrap things up. Performance degradation is going to occur without this program. That much I think we all know. Commissioning programs are great. They're really good at what they're used for, but in order to maintain that really high level of performance that we get from the commissioning process, we have to have a comprehensive long-term program in place. Before getting any sort of advanced analytics, a solid organizational structure must be thought out. There's not just one way to attack this, but we want the key players in the correct positions to ensure work orders developed from the analytics are turned into real-life work orders and real-life energy savings. You're going to have to plan for your workflow. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just make sure it fits in the program that you already have in place. And then picking an analytics platform that will fit the needs of your company. Make sure it's capable of monitoring all aspects of building performance, and that you have protected yourself from requiring more pieces of software in the future. Lastly, develop your reports. Have them ready to go and ready to tell the story of your building's performance. And much like the runners for the Barkley Marathon, once you've arrived at this point, you have all the support and prep work finished, and all you have to do is execute and see the plan through. And that's all I've got for you guys at this point. Now I think we can open up for any questions anybody might have.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Brent. Let's jump into the questions. And for those of you on the line, head over to the Q&A button if you have any additional ones, and I'll make sure to address them. So the first question we have lined up is this advanced analytics tool compatible with all manufacturers such as Siemens, JCI, etc.?
Yeah, great question. The analytics platform that we have chosen is compatible with all the major players. So Siemens, JCI, Niagara, BACnet, it connects with all those. And even sites that have a conglomeration of all of those, we're able to pull all those into the analytics and see all that information.
Great. This next attendee is wondering, what tools do you recommend for weather normalization if less than 9 months of data is available? And is this automatically done in the analytics tool?
Yeah, so normalizing for less than 9 months of data, yeah, it's going to be tricky for sure. Generally, when we're pulling in a site like that, we'll go back to utility bills and we'll pull in data from like the previous 3 years and go ahead and load those all into our software. And the particular software that we use, as long as we are connected to a weather station or inputting that weather information and that we have all the correct utility information, it does have that option of automatically normalizing weather for you.
Perfect. This next person is asking, what is the savings opportunities determination methodology that you use?
Yeah, so the savings opportunity, it's really based on the actual performance of that site. So if we're going through and let's say we're trying to understand what the impact of a chill water valve leak is, we go back to that chill water plant efficiency. So we see how much energy they're taking to produce their chill water. We're taking into account their actual energy rates at the site. And we're using engineering calculations to come up with the energy impact along with an economical impact to give the site, as much information as possible so they can plan out their work orders and kind of prioritize work appropriately.
Great. Next question. Can the tickets be integrated into the facility CMMS system?
Yes, they can. And that again will depend on which analytics provider you go with. The one that we use, we currently have in place at a facility. So anytime that we go in and we write up, it's called notes in the software that we use. So if you keep hearing me say notes, I'm trying not to because it's a little confusing. But when we go in our software and we write these issues up that we find, it automatically gets sent over to that client's CMMS software and shows up as a work order request. And then they can go in and check that work order request and turn that into an actual work order. What we don't do, we do try to make sure that these issues are vetted, even through the fault detection software. We go through and we monitor that and we turn that into an issue rather than pushing all the fault detection straight to a CMMS system because it would rapidly be overloaded with work order requests from that. So when we do push those over, they're pushed over as a request, and that gives the facility operator the chance to look over what we're seeing. Because there are the times where, we may have triggered for some reason during the site build, it thinks there's a hot water valve, let's say maybe on a mechanical room or a networking IT room, where a lot of those don't have a hot water coil. And when we built the site, it thought one was there. It says it thinks the hot water coil is plugged because it doesn't exist. So we end up writing that up and then talk to the site owners, and then we're able to go in and kind of remove that tag on that point. So our software then knows from now on that does not have a hot water valve. So there's a couple ways to kind of get it through there. We've done both. We've done the automatic CMMS way. We've done the manual entry from one to another. And it'll really just depend on what software selection you make.
Thank you, Brent. We have a couple more questions lined up here. Next question is just about choosing an analytics package in general. When an owner is choosing an analytics package, what criteria should they be asking for, and what features separate the quality of these packages?
That's a good question. There's a lot of great analytics packages out there, a lot of great pieces of software doing this. And really, it comes down to what's going to be most important to your company and how you want to structure your facility's energy monitoring program. Do you want your guys at the site using the software, or is that something you plan on contracting out? And then looking at, like we talked about during the presentation, making sure that it is looking at all aspects of building performance. You don't want to go the route of getting one piece of software for your energy efficiency, one piece of software for your comfort. We really want one that's going to incorporate all of that into one package for you. And then really just getting in there and using the software and seeing what works best for you, what's going to be the easiest for you to use, and which one at the end of the day you guys like best.
Great. And then again, about choosing this package and the next step, implementing a system like this, how long does it take to implement a system? And then from the time the owner signs the contract until there is a useful dashboard?
Yeah, so that answer can vary greatly, and a lot of it depends on the background architecture of your network, your IT, what's going on with your IT group. We've worked with a couple, partners where I would say, they sign the contract, and within 1 to 2 months, we have a site built and we're starting to push out information. We've had others where it's really hard to get through their firewall. Opening up ports has created issues. Making those connections that we need to has taken some time. So we've seen it take quite a bit longer than that to get it set up. And a lot of it is going to depend on the speed of the IT group and how quickly we can make those connections and get it moving. Once we have the connections from the analytics software to the back end of your BAS, Building a site within the software takes a week to 2 weeks, and then we need another couple weeks of data to start looking at things and getting reports and dashboards up and going. So once that connection's made, it's pretty quick. It's just getting that connection can really greatly depend on your IT structure.
Thank you, Brent. We have a handful of questions. We do have some time, so I'm going to continue to keep on throwing them at you. How often are predicted savings validated with analysis of subsequent utility expenses?
Quite often. It's really, kind of the key behind what we're doing. We're not selling, black box software. We're not out there doing anything outside of engineering calculations. So especially when we start looking at very large sequences. So when we're redoing a chiller plant sequence, redoing air handler sequences, overhauling terminal unit stuff, if we go back to the original slide, let me just see that in here.
Yeah, your microphone's getting a little fuzzy there.
Oh, sorry about that. Is that any better?
Or
am I still breaking up?
Still breaking up a little bit, a little robotic, but I can still make it out.
Yeah, hopefully my internet connection doesn't go out here. Let me go back to this one right here. So this trend right here is a prime example of what you're asking. 2017 was before we did any sort of recommissioning for this site. 2018 it took place. And then you see the results of a new chill water plant sequence, new air handler sequences, changes to all the terminal unit set points. So it's very commonly seen in the utility bills. And this is what this data was taken from. This is from utility bills themselves.
Hey, Brent, is there a possibility that you can unplug your headphones and maybe just use your computer?
I can try and see how that works. It generally doesn't work very well. Let me try to unplug it and plug it back in.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. While he's fiddling with that, just to remind everyone that we do have a technology showcase tomorrow, Friday. This is in lieu of an in-person exhibit. So we're really excited to just have 6 exhibitors show their stuff to you. We'll also be showing prizes and giving away stuff today. So it's going to be really exciting. So hope to see you there tomorrow.
Okay, am I any better?
Sounds perfect.
Great. Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, let me hop into the next question here. For cybersecurity reasons, can we use this tool in a closed controlled system without connection to the web?
Yes, they do offer on-premise solutions, so it can be installed right there. If you've got a server connected to your BAS, we can do that on site. And then in terms of monitoring, so if you're wanting to use a monitoring service such as ETC Group, using a VPN or screen sharing technologies, we can do stuff like that. So we work with some clients that have very high cybersecurity protocols that have to be met, and we're able to meet those and still provide value in the services.
Okay, moving along here to the next question. Can you explain the importance of selecting the third-party implementer of the building analytics platform? And they're saying you may purchase a great platform, but if you don't have the correct implementer of the platform, it can lead to complications and possibly additional cost.
Yes, that is a great point. I spoke a little bit about a Superuser, and that's kind of what we're hinting at. So where the software stands right now, it has great features. There's a lot of good things that you can do and positive analytics on there. But you do need training, you do need experience in order to fully use all those tools. And so using a company like ourselves at ETC Group, we use this software every day. We're very well versed in it. So we know how to get in there and look at building performance rapidly. We know which KPIs are going to be the most important. We know where to go to look for savings, what aspects of the chill water plant sequence can generally be altered and improved. We know where to go for the air handler stuff, how to improve that operation. So yeah, the question was right on point. If you go by the software and just go at it alone, that's kind of where we talk about trying to do that race that I spoke about without any supplies or support. You can probably get somewhere, but it's not going to be your best. And there's going to be a whole lot of savings that are left on the table had you, partnered with an engineering group that's, very knowledgeable with the analytics software.
Thank you. And I believe I didn't ask this question yet. Are you monitoring VFD temperature via its own internal temperature sensor and seeing it as a backnet point, or are you using an external field supplied sensor? And then are you setting a high limit alarm to indicate unsatisfactory operating conditions?
Yeah, so we're doing exactly that. We're using the backnet point on the VFD itself to monitor there. And I'm going to confess, I don't know the exact programming of that rule. I know it is a high limit mark that it's looking at and alarming on. It's generally a little bit lower than the system alarm so that we can watch it, start to come up. So we're looking at that issue before it becomes a major problem, as opposed to, this VFD is too hot, it's getting ready to burn down. So we try to catch it before it gets to that point. Now, the other thing that we have worked with other customers, they have other products where they can add sensors. A lot of wireless stuff is going on right now. So we're able to work with those and integrate those into the platform as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Brent. 2 more questions lined up, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. Next one, with respect to the sum of power spike issue, were any high priority alarms sent to the facility manager staff?
Within the BAS, no. There were no alarms that showed up, and that's kind of why it snuck under the radar there for a couple weeks. The alarms at the site level, while you can definitely customize them and make them for some efficiency issues, generally they're looking for putting out fires. This is something major has happened. So it did not raise any alarms on the BAS system. It wasn't until we pulled it up in the analytics software and looked at that particular KPI and noticed a monster spike and immediately got after it.
Perfect. Last question. This one's a bit long, so let me know if you need me to repeat at any point. Is there any AI capabilities in the FDD module of your data analytics software to capture the KBs that help the diagnostics and repair possible to solve the problem and also make the system learn, so system prompts to fire those rules heuristically to search from the KB to help the facility staff run the diagnostics next time with a similar problem, if a similar problem occurs in the future? Does that make sense to you?
I think so. I'm super impressed you're able to get through the whole thing. Okay, so what I took out of that was using AI technology to kind of help the FDD modules and kind of advance that along. So I would say that the machine learning and AI technologies, they're deployed and they're available within the analytics software. It's kind of in its infancy. We're working with it right now to grow and understand how we can use that better to kind of monitor. What we're looking to do is monitor KPIs and really look at it as a system as a whole, so that we can look at all points feeding into a particular piece of equipment and kind of monitor or develop a baseline for that piece of equipment. And then as it goes on in the future, that the software can let you know when a particular point within that piece of equipment has drifted out of its baseline range. So like I said, that's it's being worked on. It's out there, and we're working with them to kind of dial that in and get that to be a really good product. But it's something that's definitely coming up in the future that we're really looking forward to, and really kind of changes the whole way that we look at things. So it's coming. That's my short answer.
Brent, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you.
Okay, well, CxEnergy virtual series is not over. We still have one more week left. So next Tuesday, we're going to continue things on remote energy management during COVID-19. And then tomorrow, as I noted, we do have our technology showcase. I know many of you haven't been in an exhibit hall in a long time, but we have a solution for you. Comes with prizes. If you're registered for CxEnergy virtual, then you should have got the invite. See you there. Have a great day and stay safe, everyone.